Welcome back, sports gamers. It's the Natural back for the final showdown countdown of the top 10 franchise teams in Madden 22 here at my main man, 4Verts. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, if you do not play It's the Final Countdown when you're doing that intro in post-production, I'm going to be very disappointed.
We are here.
You'll get a YouTube strike, so never mind.
And you have to remember that these are for franchise. These are for franchise players only. We're not saying this is the best 10 teams in Madden. These are the best 10 teams when you factor in everything that matters in franchise, between the cap space, draft capital, the youth power index, how young or old the team is, athleticism of the team, and everything that factors into that. So these is not just based on overall. If you're an overall lover, if you think overall matters, turn the video off right now. If you're a franchise head,
this is not for you.
If you're a franchise head and you want to dive deep into franchise and how to select the best franchise team in the game, you're in the right place. Starting right off with number 10, the Green Bay Packers.
Packers, this is the team I get asked about a lot, right? And so, especially when the Aaron Rodgers debacle was going on, because people were worried about what was going to happen there. But the big red flag here, obviously, is the big red mark on this team, right? 32nd in cap. They're going to start off. Now, let me caveat this for a second. The way Madden does cap is not the way the NFL does cap. They have to make some artistic changes because of the way that the tools they have in the NFL and that Madden has aren't the same. So, while they're going to start negative 50 million in the hole, in real life for a year or two, they won't be negative 50 million in the hole. But what I can tell you is you're going to have to do some work. Devontae Adams needs re-signed, and if he doesn't get re-signed before the game drops, you could be in a little bit of trouble. You may have to move Aaron Rodgers. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just the guy telling you what's the situation. Now, moving forward, let's talk about what they do have going for them. They're fifth in weapons, right? So you've got some great weapons there. Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, Robert Tonyan. You've got a kind of a supporting cast of number twos there that are all pretty good. You've got a top 6 coverage unit there, right? You've got the 4th in defensive athleticism. You've got 12th in optimal rush. And then you've got some other things going for your 15 youth power index. I know some people are going to look at adjusted quarterback and say 12th. How's Aaron Rodgers 12th? Well, adjusted quarterback takes into account both the quarterback's skill, but also his age. He's pretty high up there in age. So you're going to be able to use Aaron Rodgers for a little bit. But let me warn you, again, cap related, you may have to choose between Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I think that's it's not the worst situation because you do have the backup young quarterback Jordan Love. Even though he's not rated high, someone that has some mobility, has a good arm, lively arm that you can work with if you do choose to move Aaron Rodgers. But this team, once you solve that issue, bringing a little bit of speed and more speed at wide receiver position, and get a run stopper, I think you're set. I mean, you solve that quarterback issue there, whether it's shipping off Aaron Rodgers or pretty much trading him or ride him. I don't know, kind of ride him out. I wouldn't ride him out just because I've seen him in the last couple of years degrade rapidly, regress rapidly, and basically lose his abilities by 3 years into the franchise. So I wouldn't try to ride him out, depending on how long your franchise is. But so you're gonna have to move on for him. You're gonna have to decide at what point during the process you do that. Moving on to the Chargers, who have the opposite. They have a young, dynamic, probably one of the best or the best young quarterback in the game.
There's a lot to like about the Chargers, and my guess is they will definitely be gone here in the top 10, probably top half of the top 10 in most leagues. So 4th in cap space, they're going to have the ability to re-sign guys as well as go out and get some guys. 9th in adjusted quarterback, Justin Herbert, one of the rising young stars here in the NFL. 11th in weapons. Now, those weapons aren't necessarily fast as you look at 25th in offensive athleticism. Now, defensive side of the ball, yes, they have Joey Bosa. They don't have a whole lot there besides Bosa in terms of pass rush. Coverage-wise, you have Derwin James. And then you have some other corners who aren't horrible, right? But you don't have a great coverage unit there. But you have a very athletic unit in coverage. So you do have the second best defensive athleticism. So there's things to like about this team. I kind of lean towards this team being a little bit more of a project defensively than most people are probably ready to take on. But, if you're more of an offensive guy, this could be a great team for you.
Yeah, for sure. I think this team is a few offensive linemen, defensive linemen away from being a powerhouse. They have the pieces, definitely in the secondary to build upon. They have the pieces in the offense to build upon. You just got to work on the trenches, and that QB is going to definitely lead you to the promised land there. A quality squad here for sure. Moving right along, we have the Washington football team at number 8.
Let's talk about this Washington football team because I think there's a lot to like here. I personally had them when I was making my selections for my team, for my franchise. They were my second team, the team I wanted to be the second most. So, and cap, they're going to have the ability to make some moves here in the offseason. Now, keep in mind the draft capital, they're not missing first, right? They've got some mid-rounds missing, so not too concerning there. Youth power index at 22, so they're a little bit older. Keep in mind Ryan Fitzpatrick's their quarterback, so that's part of the reason that they're being drugged down a little bit. But weapons-wise, they're 7th there. They've got Terry McLaurin, they've got Samuel, they've got Antonio Gibson, right? Logan Thomas. So they've got some really good weapons there. 9th in athleticism as well. So there's a lot to like athletically there. Just don't love the offensive line at 28 or the quarterback. That's okay. Let's talk about the real reason you're taking the Washington football team. 6 in optimal rush, right? You've got young rushers there in Sweat. You've got 3 really good defensive tackles there in Payne, Allen, and Ioannidis. And then you also got Young. Run defense, you're better there than you probably are expecting. Holcomb's actually a better linebacker than people give him credit for. Coverage, you're 12th. Defensive athleticism, you're 3. So you've got a defensive unit that's pretty young, really good, and they're going to be able to stick together for the whole cycle. So that's a whole unit that's top 10 that you can keep together for a cycle. If you can figure out the offense and really you've got pieces, this is a team that can be really good for the whole cycle.
Yeah, for sure. That defense is scary, but not as scary as Ryan Fitzpatrick being your quarterback in Madden. He might do some Fitz magic on the gridiron on Sundays, but there is no magic coming anywhere on the video game gridiron because he is trash and you are not going anywhere with that quarterback. So I would say definitely try to move one of those pieces that you have, those young guys, and bring in a good quarterback, or try to draft one in year 2. But you're only going to go as far as your quarterback can take you, and Fitzpatrick is not taking you pretty much anywhere in your franchise. Speaking of a quarterback that can take you to the promised land, we have the Ravens at number 7.
So the Ravens here checking in at 7. They were a little bit higher last year. We'll talk about why they're not this year. 28th in offensive line. Their offensive line kind of feels, never mind. I was looking one row down. The Ravens dropped down with their youth power index. So they've actually aged out is the reason they've dropped down from last year to this year. So the Ravens have gotten older the last couple seasons. And you say, well, wait, I know some guys on the Ravens that are young. They've got, Lamar Jackson and I know J.K. Dobbins and Hollywood Brown. Right, that's great. But when you think about the Ravens, it's really that defense. Defensive side of the ball has aged out. Calais Campbell, a couple other guys over there, especially their secondary is actually a lot older than people think it is. And then the offensive line's starting to get up there a little bit. They traded Orlando Brown away. But they still got a pretty good offensive line. Now, Lamar Jackson, the second best quarterback in the game for adjusted QB, 7th in draft capital, 6th in offensive athleticism. So they've got a lot going for them. Defensive athleticism is a problem. That's where that age, I think, starts kicking in a little bit. And then optimal rush. Again, Calais Campbell gives you something. The rest of the team gives you nothing. But do notate that this is before the Justin Houston acquisition. Houston is older. He's not going to give you much for long, but he should make that rush slightly better, maybe 2 points.
Yeah, Calais Campbell is an absolute monster in the middle there, and definitely not somebody at the game plan around going against the Ravens. But I was really shocked to see the youth power index. I did not realize the team was that old when you think about Lamar Jackson and Hollywood Brown and some of the receivers and running backs they brought in. But the rest of the team is pretty up there in age, like you said. But the big thing for this team is like in franchise, it's like the countdown till the Lamar Jackson contract comes up. And so it's like, how much can you do? How much can you prepare? How many people you have to cut before you sign that astronomical contract? So anyone who takes the Ravens, be prepared cap-wise to pretty much be cap-locked the remainder of the cycle once you sign Lamar Jackson.
And that's year 2 now, right? So you'll get 1 year out of him, and then you'll have to get that done. So I think for a lot of people, they're going to have to take that older team and start piecing out pieces of that to keep Lamar.
Yeah, you're gonna have to work some cap magic around Lamar Jackson contract. Moving on to the Buffalo Bills, who have some cap issues of their own.
The Buffalo Bills have some cap issues, and they also have the same problem, right? Josh Allen, fourth and adjusted quarterback, is going to need a new contract. I think if you're the Ravens owner or you're the Bills owner, you're actually hoping that the deal gets done in real life before it gets done Madden, because the real life contract structure is probably more advantageous than doing it inside of Madden. So both those cases, kind of a similar situation. Now, when you look at the Bills, a couple other things they have going for them. Weapons are 6. They've got some really nice weapons there. Cole Beasley, Stephon Diggs, and Emmanuel Sanders. I knew they had a third one I couldn't think of. Offensive athleticism, they're 5th. You get out to the coverage, they have a really nice coverage unit, 3rd in coverage. Now, defensive athleticism, not that great, 23. Optimal rush, run D, not great either. O-line, though, is middle of the road. But really what you're paying for here is you're paying for those weapons here. You're paying for the quarterback, and really what you're looking for is that coverage. So Bills are kind of an interesting team. The division has gotten better, and I think that division in your franchise will probably attract better competition. So it's not going to be, which in years past in a lot of leagues, one of the worst divisions, probably one of the better leagues, or excuse me, one of the better divisions in your league.
Yeah, this is the high flying. This is like the old school K-gun Bills with Josh Allen back there with those weapons. And that, you got a mobile quarterback with 99 throwing power. I mean, if you don't put up major points with the Bills week in, week out, then you probably need to just trade your game in. But yeah, this team is explosive in more ways than one. Moving on to the Broncos at number 5. Speaking of explosive teams, this is probably one of the most explosive teams in the game, right? Despite the Chiefs, it's out of the Chiefs.
Yeah, for those that know, right? Like these are the discount Chiefs, right? This, funny enough, they're in the same division, right? But these are like the discount Chiefs. Yeah, like this is the discount Chiefs, because it's like, yeah, because most people are going to gravitate to the Chiefs if they want like the speed and the explosiveness, but really the Broncos can give you a lot of that too. Big difference is obviously the Chiefs quarterback being very good, the Broncos quarterback not being very good. Drew Lock checking in here at 28th on adjusted quarterback, not probably the quarterback answer here. We go across, the other thing that they're really lacking is defensive athleticism. Now let's talk about what they do well. Fourth in offensive athleticism, 19th in weapons. Don't let 19th in weapons scare you. They're all young people. They can all be developed. They're 7th in cap, 12th in draft capital. Defensively, 8th in optimal rush, 4th in run D, 2nd in coverage. They've got a lot of cornerbacks. So when you talk about, hey, how am I going to go out? How am I going to find my quarterback of the future? You have your draft capital, but you also have maybe 2 cornerbacks that could be starters on other teams that won't even be on the field for you in nickel packages. So you've got 5 legit corners there. I'm probably trading 2 away to go out and get some stuff to try to get me a quarterback.
Yeah, first thing that jumps out in this team is not just the athleticism, but the fact that they have, some cap and some draft capital that you can still make some moves. And team is, they're just not that bad at anything besides quarterback. I mean, it's just like one of those ready-made, plug and play teams. You plug a top quarterback in here and they're good to go. I mean, this team, has good coverage. They're just has a good offense. Like, everything is just pretty good. Can work on that run D a little bit, but they don't have many huge holes outside of the quarterback position, and that athleticism, they can take the top off any defense in the game. Moving on to a team that's not the discount version. I guess we got like the Walmart version, and then like the Publix or Costco version. The Chiefs at 4.
Yeah, so the Chiefs, obviously, they're going to be one of the top picks in your franchise, most likely. Patrick Mahomes, top quarterback in the game. No surprise there. 2nd in weapons, 1st in offensive athleticism. So very, very explosive offense there. Now, you do have some concerns about the draft capital and the cap situation there, but you're okay for now. Offensive line, they've made a lot of improvements in the offseason. They're 10th there. Youth power index, actually 7th. So still a young team in Kansas City. Now, defensively, there's some issues. Optimal rush, you're really dealing with Chris Jones, and then a whole bunch of, what are we going to do there? Run defense, 23rd. Defensive athleticism, this is where you're really going to get hurt, 31st. So this is a team that, again, is no secret. They're going to be one of the top requested teams in your franchise. But keep in mind, there may be some other teams that you can pick that can give you similar results.
Yeah, the one thing that surprised me, I thought after that Super Bowl, the offensive line would be 32nd. I mean, the way Mahomes is running for his life back there, but it looks like they have improved the offensive line. The defense it hasn't been good, right? It's really just been the offense just outscoring everyone. So they're slow, they're not athletic, have decent coverage, but overall, you like you said, you know what you're getting with the Chiefs, right? So you're pretty much going to be a shootout week in, week out. But the biggest thing, you want to come in and you want to work on that defense. At least you have one side of the ball taken care of. So what your draft, what your trades, everything has to be focused on, improving that defense. And they have the players that people want. Like Hardman is somebody that you can possibly lose on that offense and still be a top offense. So, and I know people will be dying to trade their top cornerback, top pass rusher for someone like Mecole Hardman in a franchise. So, good team, and no surprise they're right there, one of the teams in the top. Moving right up, the Niners, which is a team that I didn't think would be this high, but solid squad, you can see at number 3.
So the Niners check in here, and they've got 6 top 10 ratings here, and another at 11. So they've got a lot going for them. But let's talk about their issues. The issues is going to be keeping this team together. So 24th in salary cap, 32nd in draft picks. Not much to work with there. They gave a lot away to move up for Trey Lance in this last draft. If you're a guy that likes to draft a lot, this is not going to be the team for you. Youth Power Index are at 14, so they're about middle of the road there. Just a quarterback. They're doing pretty good there at 11. Trey Lance does give you a quarterback of the future. Jimmy G is a contract that saddles you, but you can unload that. Maybe you can get something for him. Not sure you get a whole lot. But that would actually improve your cap situation, so that's good to talk about. Weapons, you're at 13th. Offensive athleticism, you are at 3. Offensive line 7, optimal rush 7, run D 5, coverage 10, defensive athleticism 8. So you've got a lot of good stuff here, right? So you're talking, Fred Warner in the second level, Bosa in the front. There's just guys peppered all over this defense. So very similar to Washington, if Washington had anything going for it really offensively, or with a quarterback for that matter.
Yeah, for sure. And what I love about this team is that you have Jimmy Garoppolo, and he also, the backup quarterback that they brought in, the rookie, is, either one. You can't go wrong with either one. If you're ready to move on from Garoppolo or use him as trade bait, I'm not sure how much you get for him, but somebody I definitely would go with the youth, go with the younger gunslinger there. As far as the Niners, because he has supporting cast around him. Like, the quarterback does not have to win the game. You can bring him along slowly because you have those weapons, you have that offensive line, you have that defense, you have all those things all set up for you, and they gave minimum draft capital. So it's really going to be on that young quarterback, and I would just move from Garoppolo sooner than later. Moving up to number 2, the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
So the reigning Super Bowl champions have a lot to like here, right? And this one's probably going to be a shocker for some people, right? Because you see cap 16, draft 18, that's fine. Youth Power Index 2. And I know when we were talking before the show, you're like, wait, what? How is that, right? Everybody thinks about the Buccaneers. They think, Tom Brady, Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, right? Old. The reality is most of their team is really, really young. You've got Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, Chris Godwin, O.J. Howard, Scotty Miller, right? So a lot of good offensive guys, 2 or 3 guys on the line under 30. And then defensively, Devin White, Vita Vea. The secondary as a whole is basically all under 30. So you got a lot going on there of younger guys that are really good contributors there on that team. We look at adjusted quarterback, people are saying Tom Brady, how's he 17? Remember, this is looking at the ability of the quarterback to last throughout a franchise, right? So he's not going to last more than a year or two, but he's going to give you really high-level play. That's why he checks in at 17. Now, weapons, you're at 3. That's a place where I'm probably looking to trade away a guy like Antonio Brown, because I already have Mike Evans. I've got Godwin. I probably don't need Antonio Brown. I still have Scotty Miller, so I trade Antonio Brown away, try to pick something up. Maybe same thing with Gronk, try to give Gronk away, get something back. But this team is stacked, right? Number 1 in run D. You can argue the coverage isn't great, but they've got a lot of solid corners on this team. This is a team that, I'd love to have if I were you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, either of these top two teams is definitely, made for a Super Bowl, and this team is coming off a Super Bowl. So interesting that you pointed out the adjusted QB is not just on overall, and this whole list kind of just shows how meaningless overall is. These are things that actually matter for your franchise. So yeah, Tom Brady might be 98 overall, but he's 17th because of that age. He's not going to last the entire franchise. So that drops his ranking some. So that it all makes sense how everything kind of fits together. And this team, like you said, I was shocked seeing that youth power index. I thought for sure they would be middle of the pack as far as youth, but it makes sense. A lot of the players that you think about are older, but the team as overall is a young squad. A top team nonetheless with not many holes at all. And I like the fact that unlike some of the other teams in this top thing, they don't have major cap or draft issue. They do have some draft capital. They don't have any major cap issue like the other teams. Moving on to the number one team on this list. Not surprising, a team that I felt has been a good franchise team for a while. The Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, so let's talk about this, right? The Cleveland Browns. And let's talk about the Buccaneers for that matter, right? So the Buccaneers coming in at 89.5, the Cleveland Browns at 90.3. But the gap between the Buccaneers to the next team, the 49ers, was almost 2 points. So in this ranking, most teams are separated by just a couple tenths of a point. But really what you see are the Browns and the Buccaneers are on their own level. So the Browns taking it even further, being 0.8 above the Buccaneers, just tells you how good they really are. For perspective, there's 11 data points used to create this ranking. They are top 10 in 8 of 11 data points. That's absurd. Capitals are one issue. And really, for the Browns as a whole, this team, and this is true in real life, the ability of the Browns or the Browns owner in your league to keep this team together with the cap situation is going to be the key to success. 25th in cap, you've got guys like, Baker Mayfield and Ward and some of these other guys that have to get new contracts all coming up here soon. So as good as this team is, can you keep them together? That's going to be the question. But talking about this team, they're first in youth power index, they're first in weapons, they're third in O-line, they're first in defensive athleticism, 8th in draft capital, 8th in adjusted quarterback. There's not a lot to hate about this team. Run D is really pulled down by their linebackers. They have not very good linebackers, but they've got a rookie that's actually really fast that people are going to love. So you do have that going for you as well. So overall, this Browns team is absolutely stacked. I'm guessing most people know that. So expect the Browns to go 1 or 2 in your franchise.
Yeah, it's been the secret's been out for a while that the Browns have been one of the better franchise teams. Even going back several seasons when the overall was low, they just had that core young players who were just good, had good ratings on. They had on offense and defensive side. They had guys that kind of stood out like a Baker Mayfield, and it's somebody like we really haven't talked about a lot. Is that some people start their franchise immediately, but there's other people that kind of wait for that first update or even start a franchise later in the year. Like some of these teams are going to shift up and down depending on how they perform in the season. And, coming off how they played last year, they ended, one of the hottest teams in the league. That's somebody that, some of these teams are going to go up. They're going to, play better. Or somebody like the Broncos who might not have the most, hottest start, and they might kind of drop overall. So if you start your franchise a couple months in, or, people start franchises all the time. So starting your franchise, halfway through the season, then you're going to see how these teams are going to move them down. I think the Browns is a team that can even get better and improve from this because they always have so much potential and they're just now reaching it. So that is it. The number one team, the best rated team for Madden 22 franchise players here on the list. Thanks for joining me for Verts. And let me know in the comments below what you guys think about the total list. If you appreciate our content and all the work we do to bring you guys the latest news, tips, and gameplay from your favorite sports games, drop a like, subscribe to SGO today. If you want to take your game to the next level, then join SGO Insider.